Hey Autumn, how you doing? I've got your submission up here. Now, I thought this was really interesting. And if you remember last week, I had described that I'm okay. And to me, a workflow, the way I would approach this if I were given this assignment, and I mentioned that this is really a good way to approach this. And I'm so glad to see that you have done it. But my recommendation was to open up Illustrator or InDesign, whatever you're used to working in, and practice kerning, practice typesetting this phrase, fire and ice, and take a look at the kerning, and take a look at the letter spacing, and take a look at the relationships between curves, straights, curves, and straight, and take a look at the optical relationships, and also have your sketch open too. So you have this printout in front of you, right? You have your sketch paper, and then you have Illustrator open, so that you're kind of working with all three at the same time. And I think that really creates a nice transition from the manual kerning and the sketching of letters to actually doing it on in the software. So I was really glad to see that you had done exactly that. And as you said, self-admittedly, it helped. And I think it helped too, because I think this iteration is showing a real nice improvement from previous work, specifically the banana assignment. So that's fantastic. It's working. That said, I'm still seeing some craft issues in terms of depicting these letter forms to a very high degree, exactly as they are seen here. Now, my question is this, Autumn: are you tracing these letter forms? Because to me, it seems like you might be freehanding them, looking at the printout and drawing them instead of tracing them. My recommendation for your finals is if that's what you're doing, I recommend tracing them. Here's a great technique. If you have a glass table, take a lamp, take the shade off the lamp, put the lamp under the glass table, and place your printout on the table, and then place your sketch paper over it. It illuminates from behind. So basically what you're doing in essence is creating a makeshift light table. And that's really going to help. And I think that, another way to do it is if the way we did it when we were kids, if you hold up the paper on a window and you can sketch through it, but that's really cumbersome. So if you have a glass top table, boy, that's a really great way of doing this. So, as I said, I think that there's just a couple of issues in craft, and let me just point out a couple. We take a look at that serif or the R. It's a little bit different. That angle's different. We also see that we don't have true verticals here in a lot of your letter forms. This teardrop serif on the top of the A is overhanging from where the bowl is, the curve of the bowl right here. Okay, but we can see if we take a look at that. Let me grab my handy dandy straight edge that I've been using. But we can see if we place that there, those are exactly vertical. That's a true vertical line right there. So this right here would be a true vertical, but it's not. As I place that straight edge where the serif is, we can clearly see that the bowl doesn't reach that point. So there's one area, verticals right there. Some of the relationships, the curved relationships, we take a look at that C right there. We can see it's a little thick down through here. Same thing with the D. And those are all indicating that there's inconsistencies in what's called the bowl, and that's the curved part of the letter forms. So as I said, and then right there, that N, again, let's grab my handy dandy little straight edge there, and we can see, whoops, I lost it. There it is. And then let's go ahead and take a look at that N, and we can see that that isn't a true vert right there, okay? As we can see right there, there's a little bit of a dip in there. So just a few things on cleaning up craft. Okay, now, as far as letter spacing and word spacing goes, I think you really nailed this. I really do. I think you did a great job. And to me, that's what this is all about. I mean, you're showing that you're learning. So, I mean, craft is definitely counts, okay? But to me, the important thing here is not, making the I look exactly like the I. To me, the important thing is getting the letter spacing down and understanding it. And you are showing that. So this worked beautifully for you. Excuse me. Letter spacing is great. I think there's a couple of areas though that need to be addressed. All right, I think that I is right up there next to the F. That's great. I think a lot of students are reluctant to bring that tittle. That's the dot on the I, by the way. It's called a tittle. I think a lot of students are really super reluctant to bring that close to the F. And you're okay as long as there's a little space in there. You're fine. You're just fine. You don't want to touch it by any means. You don't want it touching, but I think you're good the way it is. I and R turn really nicely. This E is a little close to the R. And the reason I say that is because that serif right there is almost touching that bowl right there. So that's trapping this negative space right there, and it makes it a little uncomfortable. So let's move that out a little. And is kerned beautifully, and ice is kerned perfectly. My only other recommendation is right now it seems like, actually, if anything, this and ice can be moved over a little closer this way. So I think that the illusion is that this space right here is a little bit tighter than this space right here. So if we just, and I'm talking about a couple of pixels, if that, so just move that over a little bit and try to make that area appear to be equal to that area. As we know, you can't measure it and have perfectly the same space because that's not how these illusions work with curved, straight, and curved, and straight letter forms, right? Especially when you throw serifs into the mix. So, so the good news is your spacing is beautiful. And the great news is that your craft has really come a long way. And the great news is also that this technique you've employed wonderfully. So the work is really showing a vast improvement from last week. I think it's fantastic. So just, those comments, just clean that up a little bit, and we're ready to submit for your final submission for our series, our two-part series in the Trial by Fire hand-rendered spacing exercises. Okay, great job, Autumn. If you have any questions at all, please feel free to let me know. Thank you.